The FBI's top 10 most wanted list emerged in 1949 as a result of a conversation held between the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, and William Kinsey Hutchinson, who was the editor-in-chief of the International News Service, a predecessor of the United Press International. The list is designed to publicize the most dangerous and wanted criminals by the FBI, aiming to draw in tips and information that may lead to their whereabouts and arrest. The list was announced officially in 1950, and the first person added to it was Thomas J. Holden, a robber and member of the Holden-Keating Gang, which operated between 1926 and 1932. He was apprehended in 1951, just 15 months after the list was first published. The top 10 list is still utilized by the FBI today and has helped the authorities to apprehend dozens of criminals. Join us for this video as we examine the FBI's current top 10 most wanted list. If you have any information about the whereabouts of the wanted criminals in today's video, you can submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov or call the tip line on 1-800-225-5324. A reward of up to $250,000 is available in most cases, and please note, the individuals on this list should be considered armed and dangerous and should not be approached by civilians. Bhadreshkumar Patel. In 2014, 24-year-old Bhadreshkumar Patel and his recent bride, 21-year-old Palak Patel, came to the United States from India to visit family. By 2015, they settled in the community of Hanover, Maryland, where they had jobs working at a Dunkin' Donuts establishment on Arundel Mills Boulevard, which Patel's relative owned. Palak was last seen alive at around 9:30 p.m. on CCTV, where she and her husband walked together towards the kitchen of the Dunkin' Donuts shop. They disappeared from view behind some racks, but Patel emerged alone a short time later. He turned off an oven before leaving the store. He did not lock up behind him, so a customer entered the store shortly afterwards and waited to be served. After waiting for some time, the customer grew suspicious that there appeared to be nobody working in the shop and told a nearby police officer, who decided to investigate. It was then that the body of Palak was discovered in the kitchen. She had been beaten to death and stabbed multiple times with a large kitchen knife. Though investigators had little to work on, they have suggested that the married couple engaged in an argument that ended in violence. After speaking with Palak's family, they learned that on the night of her murder, she told her family over the phone that she wanted to return home to India. Police believe that Patel wanted to remain in the US and overheard the call, which is when an altercation broke out. Patel was not identified as a suspect until over an hour after Palak's body was found, giving him a head start. He was added to the FBI's most wanted list in 2017, where he has remained ever since. Authorities have stated that after fleeing the Dunkin' Donuts store, Patel returned to his apartment on foot, changed his clothes, gathered some of his belongings, and then caught a taxi to a hotel near Newark Liberty International Airport. The cab driver told investigators that he seemed very calm and unfazed during the journey. Surveillance footage showed the 24-year-old checking into the hotel and paying for the room in cash. He checked out the following morning and was last seen on April 13, 2015, at around 10 a.m. at Newark Penn Station in New Jersey. Investigators are currently uncertain whether or not Patel is still in the country. They think it's possible that he fled, but have also considered the possibility that he's being hidden by a relative, noting that he has links to the states of New Jersey, Kentucky, Georgia, and Illinois. He also has ties to Canada and India. Palak's mother told the press of her agony over losing her daughter and her desire for justice. She added that her daughter was a caring and kind person who only wished to help and serve others, and had dreams of working with children and becoming a teacher in the future. She told the press, "I want justice for my daughter." This was a clear betrayal on her husband's part for no reason. She just wanted to return to India. "Our family will never be the same. We love and miss Palak very much. I am not losing hope. I am confident that one day Bhadreshkumar will be caught because everyone in this case is working hard for justice." Patel is currently 35 years old. He is described as being 5 foot 9 inches tall, weighing between 165 and 170 pounds, and having brown hair and brown eyes. He may use the name Bhadresh. Alejandro Castillo. 17-year-old Alejandro Castillo began working at Shomar's restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2016, where he became fast friends with several of his colleagues, including 19-year-old Ahmir Feaster and 23-year-old Truck Kwan Sandy Lai Lee. According to reports, Castillo soon developed a romantic relationship with Sandy, though it was short-lived. After they broke up, Sandy mentioned that Castillo still owed her $1,000, which she had lent him. A short time later, Castillo began dating Ahmir Feaster, their other co-worker. On August 9, 2016, Castillo messaged Sandy, telling her that he planned to return her money. She agreed to meet him at a Quick Trip convenience store on Eastway Drive later that day, and Feaster picked up Castillo that afternoon to take him to the meeting. Sandy was last seen alive leaving for the Quick Trip. She never returned home afterwards. Sandy was reported missing the following day, while Castillo and Feaster were reported missing on August 11th and August 12th. Feaster's vehicle, a red Dodge Caliber, was tracked down on August 13th. It had been left abandoned in the 11,000 block of Dulling Creek Boulevard in Charlotte. Later that same day, the pair reportedly called their families to let them know that they were safe, but they didn't tell them what had happened, nor did they reveal where they were. The families both concluded that the pair were being held captive and had been forced to make the calls, and because authorities had not found Sandy, they suspected that she may be with them. Everything changed, however, on August 17th, just over a week after Sandy was last seen, when her body was discovered in a wooded area in Cabarrus County. She'd been shot once in the head, and authorities surmised that she'd been killed in a robbery. Sandy's uncle told investigators that she had left to meet with someone who owed her money, but instead of depositing any money on the day she was last seen, her bank account was emptied of another $1,000. It was here that investigators realized they were dealing with something more than a simple robbery and some missing teenagers. Further investigation revealed the messages between Castillo and Sandy, and that Castillo and Feaster had stolen Sandy's car after dumping her body and driven to Phoenix, Arizona. Her car was parked at a bus shelter and abandoned, having been discovered on August 15th. From here, Castillo and Feaster made their way to Nogales, Arizona, where CCTV shows them crossing the border into Mexico. Castillo has not been seen since. After discovering all of this on November 2nd, the 17-year-old was charged with first-degree murder. The following year, charges of unlawful flight to avoid prosecution were also added. Feaster, meanwhile, turned herself in on October 20th, 2016. She had been hiding in Aguascalientes, Mexico. She first reached out to her mother, who cooperated with US authorities and arranged for her to be collected from the airport. She was returned to the US in the following days and arrested by Texas authorities, where she was charged with accessory after the fact of felony murder and larceny of a motor vehicle. She told investigators that the pair had been staying with Castillo's cousin in Mexico, but that the 17-year-old had disappeared shortly before she turned herself in. Alejandro Castillo is currently 26 years old. He is described as standing at 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighing 178 to 189 pounds. He has black hair and brown eyes and speaks both English and Spanish. There are many possible locations in which he may be found, including San Francisco de los Romo or Pabellón de Archaga, both in the state of Aguascalientes, and the Mexican states of Guanajuato or Veracruz. Yulan Adonay Archaga Carias. Yulan Adonay Archaga Carias has been on the most wanted list since 2021. He is an individual with ties to the drug trafficking industry and is believed to be the leader of the Honduran sect of the organized crime gang MS-13. He has a lengthy criminal history beginning in 2015 when he was imprisoned in Honduras for money laundering and illicit association, but he made his escape from authorities in February of 2020 when he was transported to a court hearing in the city of El Progreso with very few guards. Additionally, he was transported by van rather than by helicopter, which was most unusual, and the military and police were not given any prior notice about the fact that such a dangerous and high-profile inmate was being moved. When he arrived at the courthouse, the building was swarmed by a group of MS-13 gang members who barged inside and helped Archaga Carias escape. He has been at large ever since. In 2021, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York indicted him for further charges related to racketeering, narcotics, smuggling, and the use of firearms, which is what prompted him to be added to the FBI's most wanted list. He replaced U.S. fugitive Robert William Fisher, who is believed to be responsible for the murder of his wife and children and the blowing up of the family's home in 2001. In 2023, the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs announced a $5 million reward for information leading to Archaga Carias' arrest and conviction. Archaga Carias is currently 43 years old. He is described as being 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighing around 160 pounds. He may use the name Alexander Mendoza and sometimes goes by the nickname Porky. Ruja Ignatova. Ruja Ignatova was born in Bulgaria in 1980 and raised in Germany, where she was found to be an extremely clever child, eventually able to skip a grade. At 18, she gained a scholarship to study at the University of Konstanz, graduating in 2005 with a PhD in private international law. She later attended Oxford University, where she obtained her master's degree in European law. After completing her studies, she began working a successful career in finance before launching the cryptocurrency OneCoin in 2014. Using her charisma and confidence, Ignatova convinced millions of people to invest in the crypto coin, promising massive returns. But in reality, she defrauded those people out of more than $4 billion. On October the 25th, 2017, she was scheduled to speak with investors in Lisbon, but instead, she travelled from Sofia, Bulgaria, to Athens, Greece, on a Ryanair flight. She subsequently disappeared. Some suspect that she was tipped off about an official investigation into her scam, prompting her to go into hiding. Reportedly, in 2019, a Bulgarian organised crime kingpin named Krasimir Kamenov attempted to help the US's investigation into Ignatova's disappearance, but he, his wife, and 2 others were found dead in his home in Cape Town before he could be thoroughly interviewed. In 2022, several German police units announced that Ignatova was being sought out so that fraud charges could be laid against her. Interpol were notified a short time later, and the FBI added her to their most wanted list. In 2024, a UK court ordered that her assets be frozen, along with those of her associates. Around this time, a $5 million reward was offered for information leading to her arrest. Though US authorities have stated that they have no evidence to counter the belief that Ignatova is still alive, the Bureau of Investigative Reporting and Data, an investigative reporting site in Bulgaria, reported in 2023 that a Bulgarian police informant had overheard the brother-in-law of a drug lord named Taki Christoforos Amanatidis that she had been murdered in 2018 on his orders. The alleged murderer, Christo Christoph, is serving a sentence in a Dutch prison for drug trafficking. Ignatova was allegedly murdered on a yacht, dismembered and thrown overboard in order to conceal Taki's involvement in the OneCoin scheme. Taki's men had reportedly been acting as security for Ignatova until that point, and according to rumour, she and Taki had once been so close that he was her daughter's godfather. Notably, however, German police have stated as recently as November 2024 that they suspect she is still alive and may be living in a guarded, wealthy neighbourhood in Cape Town, South Africa, which is home to many wealthy exiled Bulgarians. If Ignatova is still alive, she will be 45 years old. She is described as a white female with dark brown or black hair and brown eyes. She speaks English, German, and Bulgarian. Omar Alexander Cardenas. Omar Alexander Cardenas was added to the most wanted list in July 2022 after he was charged with murder and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. On August 15, 2019, Cardenas allegedly shot and killed 46-year-old Jabali Dumas outside of the Hair Icon barbershop in Silmar, LA, California. LAPD Chief Michael Moore claimed that Cardenas fired 9 shots at Jabali from around 30 feet away, and that Jabali was struck in the head and died at the scene. Cardenas, meanwhile, fled in his vehicle. It is unclear if the pair knew each other before the shooting. The FBI stated that Cardenas may be a member of the Pierce Street Gang and used the nickname Dollar. They have theorized that he fled to Mexico in order to avoid prosecution, but it's not known with certainty if he has left the US, and he could be hiding in Southern California, where he has friends and family. He may be working in construction. Cardenas is described as being between 5 feet 6 inches and 5 feet 7 inches tall, and weighing between 240 and 300 pounds. He has dark brown or black hair and brown eyes, and he wears both eyeglasses and contact lenses. He has at least one tattoo and changes his hairstyle and facial hair regularly. Wilver Villegas-Palomino. Wilver Villegas-Palomino was added to the most wanted list in 2023, 3 years after a $5 million reward was offered for anyone with information that would help capture or convict him in relation to charges of narco-terrorism, international cocaine distribution, and conspiracy. According to the FBI, around 80% of cocaine that floods American streets comes largely from Villegas-Palomino's labs in Colombia. Villegas-Palomino is considered a leader of the National Liberation Army in Colombia, which is considered a transnational crime organization and a foreign terrorist organization. The group reportedly oversees labs that produce around 200 tons of cocaine per year, which are subsequently distributed across the world. The proceeds of these sales are then allegedly used to help fund terrorist attacks, sabotage operations, and buy political influence, all with the aim of destabilizing government institutions. Villegas-Palomino is described as being between 5 feet 7 and 5 feet 9 inches tall. He weighs around 190 pounds and has black hair and brown eyes. He speaks Spanish and may use the aliases Carlos el Puerco, translated as Carlos the Hog, El Puerco, Wilver Villegas, and Wilver Palomino. Fausto Isidro Meza Flores, aka El Chapo Isidro. Fausto Isidro Meza Flores, also known as El Chapo Isidro, has a lengthy criminal history. Born in Mexico in 1982, he began working for the Juarez cartel in the 1990s, but following the death of its leader in 1997, he left the group, as did many others, and ultimately joined the Beltran-Leyva cartel. He gained respect quickly within the gang and proved himself to be a skilled hitman. He remained loyal to the group even after its leader was killed by the Mexican military in December 2009. Meza Flores' section of the gang, Los Mazatelecos, is based in the Mexican state of Sinaloa and mostly deals in smuggling illegal drugs, including meth, heroin, marijuana, and cocaine. Beginning in 2010, he and his men were considered one of the leading rivals of the Sinaloa cartel, the country's biggest drug cartel, which has led to kidnappings and murders all across the area. Although this isn't out of the norm for the gang, which has been accused of engaging in gun battles, kidnapping, murder, torture, and extortion in order to maintain control of their territory. Meza Flores is currently wanted on numerous drug-related charges, as well as use and possession of a firearm, and a $5 million reward is available for information leading to his capture. He was last known to be in the city of San Pedro Garza Garcia in Nuevo León, a state in northeastern Mexico, where he attended a youth basketball event with family on January the 19th, 2013. He was added to the most wanted list on February the 4th, 2025, replacing Donald Eugene Fields II, a child sex trafficker who was apprehended in Florida in January of this year. Meza Flores is currently 43 years old. He is described as being 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighing around 159 pounds. He has dark brown hair and brown eyes and is believed to still be in Mexico. Ryan James' wedding. At first glance, Ryan James' wedding seems like the least likely person to be on this list. A Canadian Olympic snowboarder, Wedding competed in numerous events beginning at the age of 12, but following the 2002 Winter Olympics, he began dealing drugs, which led him to plunge headfirst into a life of crime. According to reports, he was in the midst of attending Simon Fraser University in British Columbia when he decided to drop out and make ends meet by dealing marijuana to his fellow students. Before long, however, he began to deal in much harder substances when he joined up with Iranian and Russian cocaine smugglers. In 2006, a search warrant was issued under his name when it was alleged that he was growing large quantities of marijuana on his property. However, he was not charged at the time. 4 years later, he was convicted of attempting to buy cocaine from a US government agent and was given 4 years behind bars. It wasn't until 2024, following an extensive investigation, that the scale of his operations was uncovered, and authorities felt they had enough to charge him. The US Department of Justice alleged that Wedding was leading a transnational organized crime group that engaged in cocaine trafficking and murder, including of innocent civilians. A myriad of charges were subsequently laid against him, including drug trafficking, leading a criminal organization, 3 counts of murder, and 1 attempt to commit murder. Those murders are said to be of 57-year-old Jagta Sidhu, 55-year-old Habujin Sidhu, and 39-year-old Mohammed Zafar. The Sidhus were killed in November 2023, while Zafar was killed 6 months later, in May 2024. It is believed that Wedding ordered the murders alongside Andrew Clark, his second in command, who was apprehended in October 2024 and has been charged in relation to a separate murder. Authorities believe that after his 2010 conviction and his release from prison following this, he fled to Mexico, where he became a high-ranking member of the Sinaloa cartel. His nicknames there include El Jefe, Giant, and Public Enemy. Wedding was added to the most wanted list in March 2025, replacing child sex offender and murderer Alexis Flores, who is still at large. Wedding is currently 43 years old and is described as being 6 foot 3 inches tall, and weighing around 240 pounds. He has brown hair and blue eyes, and may have facial hair. He uses the aliases James Conrad King and Jesse King. A $10 million reward is available for information leading to his arrest and/or conviction. Giovanni Mosquera Serrano. Giovanni Mosquera Serrano was added to the most wanted list in June of 2025, following numerous charges of conspiracy, cocaine distribution, and providing support to a foreign terrorist organization. He replaced alleged senior MS-13 leader Francisco Javier Roman Bardeles on the list, a Honduran fugitive who was apprehended in March this year. Mosquera Serrano is believed to be a senior gang leader associated with Tren de Aragua, a transnational terrorist group from Venezuela. The group's activities include murder, racketeering, drug and human trafficking, rape, kidnapping, ransom, bribery, and money laundering. While it originated in a Venezuelan prison, it slowly spread throughout Latin America and the United States over the last 11 years, and is recently being designated a foreign terrorist organization by US President Donald Trump's administration. According to reports, Tren de Aragua operates in Bolivia, Colombia, Chile, and Peru, as well as Venezuela and the US. Along with the National Liberation Army, it operates sex trafficking networks in the border town of Villa del Rosario and in Norte de Santander in Colombia. They exploit Venezuelan immigrants and other vulnerable individuals, forcing them into trafficking and subjecting them to debt bondage. Mosquera Serrano is reportedly known as El Viejo, or the Old Man, and he is the first member of the gang to be placed on the most wanted list. He is currently 37 years old, and a reward of up to $3 million is available for information leading to his capture. He is described as a Venezuelan national with black hair and brown eyes. CindyRodriguez Singh. 40-year-old CindyRodriguez Singh was added to the most wanted list in July 2025 for the murder of her 6-year-old son, Noel Rodriguez Alvarez. The young boy was last seen in October 2022, and although his body has not yet been recovered, he is believed to have been murdered by his mother, likely on her property. Noel was born premature with several physical developmental disabilities, including visual impairment, a limp, speech delay, esotropia, and chronic lung disease. As such, he required regular medical treatment and had to be cared for around the clock. Rodriguez Singh was reportedly far from a doting mother, however, with those who knew her recalling that she referred to her son as evil and possessed by a demon, and practically shunned him from family life, fearing that he would harm her other children. She's alleged to have abused him by depriving him of food and water in order to avoid having to change his diaper, and it has been reported that on several occasions, when she caught him drinking water, she beat him with a set of keys. Despite his age, Noel was never enrolled in the school system, and beginning in July 2022, he failed to attend his usual doctor's appointments. According to an acquaintance, Rodriguez Singh once asked to borrow their child for a medical visit around this time. In March 2023, police in Everman, Texas were asked to conduct a welfare check on Noel, as he had not been seen in months. He was last seen by a hospital staff while his mother was giving birth to twins in October of 2022. He was described as appearing unhealthy and malnourished. Rodriguez Singh told authorities during the welfare check that he was actually in Mexico in the care of his biological father's family. Investigators would later reach Noel's biological father, however, and discover that he had never even met his son. 2 days after the welfare check, on March the 22nd, Rodriguez Singh's husband, Arshdeep Singh, stole $10,000 from his workplace, $8,000 of which he deposited at a bank. Later that day, the couple rounded up their 6 children and boarded a flight to Istanbul, Turkey. They subsequently travelled to India. 3 days later, and Amber Alert was issued for Noel. Investigators soon discovered that in early November 2022, Rodriguez Singh applied for new passports for herself and for her 6 other children. She did not get a passport for Noel. A friend would later claim that Rodriguez Singh was afraid of having her children taken from her custody, something she'd experienced before, as she had a history of drug and alcohol abuse. Notably, Noel and 2 of his other siblings had been taken into temporary foster care after she was involved in a drunk driving accident. Their foster mother, who specialized in children with special needs, developed a close bond with Noel and regularly video called Rodriguez Singh in order to speak with him. Their last call was in the autumn of 2022. Authorities also uncovered that sometime before going on the run, Rodriguez Singh had had a concrete patio built in the family's back garden, and her husband had thrown away a carpet which was later tested and found to have contained traces of human remains. The carpet had previously been laid in a shed in the back garden, which was demolished before they fled. While scent dogs traced human remains to the newly installed patio, an excavation of the site found no remains. 8 days after the family fled the country, on March the 30th, a felony warrant was issued for both Rodriguez Singh and her husband for abandoning and endangering a child. She was also indicted for capital murder, 2 counts of injury to a child, and 1 count of abandoning without the intent to return. For years, Rodriguez Singh remained at large, with the FBI concluding that she has not set foot on US soil since fleeing in early 2023. A break in the case finally came on August the 20th this year, when Rodriguez Singh was located by authorities in India. She was subsequently apprehended and transferred to US custody and is currently at the Tarrant County Jail. The exact details of her life in India, as well as the whereabouts of her husband and other children, are unclear at this time. The case is ongoing. The FBI's most wanted list has not yet been updated with a replacement now that CindyRodriguez Singh has been arrested.